Welcome my colleagues here as well, Mitchell Farrell, Joe Buscaino, thank you very much. We'll just jump into it. I've got a number of items that are going to be on consent unless my colleagues have any questions on those. It'll be items number 1, 2, 4, 6, 7, and 8. That's okay without objection? That'll be the order. And we'll go ahead and approve the CAO. Oh, we've got speaker cards on 1, 2, and 8. Antonia Ramirez, did you want to speak on all 3 items? Because we just did it on, we'll do it on consent. We'll hold those until you speak. But
I'm sorry?
Did you want to speak on all 3 separately or all one time?
Separately, please.
Okay, we'll go ahead, if we could, a minute on the clock, please, for each one.
Okay. I prefer that, please.
Okay, so we'll just go ahead and take them all together. So we'll give you 3 minutes.
I'm sorry. What I asked is, can we go ahead and do it as the agenda flows, please?
That's how I'm flowing the agenda, ma'am. So we're going to go ahead and go with all 3 at one time, but we'll give you all the minutes at the same time, so you can break it up any way you'd like.
I don't want any special treatment. I just simply want to go ahead and follow the protocol of
Sure.
the agenda.
No,
Okay.
You made it here this morning. I'm willing to give you a special treatment. Absolutely.
No, I don't want that.
So you don't have to keep getting up and sitting down and calling you back. No, it's all good. No, we appreciate you coming in this morning. So we'll go ahead and take 1, 2, and 3.
Thank you very much, sirs. Good morning. I say no to the grant awards of $125,000 for the so-called undeserved victim advocacy and outreach programs. It is outright fraud and sham. For we all know that these funds will never go to the true victims and or legal law-abiding citizens, but will go to the cover hefty lawsuits against the city of Los Angeles because law enforcement police departments, i.e. West Los Angeles Police Department and Rampart, have failed to protect and serve the true victims and not legally enforce the rule of law by arresting and deporting all criminal illegal felons and Latino violent gangbangers and Iranian criminal rings and drug dealers. Again, the law enforcement agencies have no ethics, no integrity, and they don't take pride in their jobs. They are too busy politically pandering to the drug dealers, gangbangers, criminal illegal felons, and Iranian criminal rings. And having said that, ladies and gentlemen, I have here a video. I'm giving you a homework assignment to the Honorable Mayor Eric Garcetti and family, to all council members and staff, to Los Angeles City Attorneys, to the West Los Angeles Police Department, to the Rampart Police Department, to all investigators and detectives, to the risk management, to Charlie Beck, to Commander Andy Smith, great guy, and to the Long Beach Chief Jim McConnell, and to the LA Chief of Police William Bratton, great guy too. I would like to go ahead and say, watch this movie. It's called The Street Corner Justice. He's taking the law into his own hands. It's called Street Corner Justice with Mark Singer and Bryan Cranston. So again, it's right here. And again, right here. Excellent movie, and it talks about gangbangers and what these business and merchants are doing to take on, enforce the rule of law without the help of the city attorney or law enforcement. Great movie. So, Madam Clerk, I'd like to give this to the city attorney to hand to all the council members and the Honorable Mayor, please. So here's that, please. And again, we are asking the police department to, again, stop labeling those true victims as crazy nut jobs, but to actually enforce the rule of law and go after those criminals and stop pandering. And you will see that your lives not only will become less complicated, but you will also become an asset and a valuable asset to the city of Los Angeles. Take pride in what you do. And thank you very much. The second agenda, it's... Again, it is outright fraud. That's item number 2. No, it's outright fraud in receiving federally funds that you, as a city entity, have not earned. We have a criminal empire. Gangbangers, Latino, Hispanic gangbangers. Again, the LAX incident is just a tip of the iceberg of what is going to happen. Wait till the riots break out. And ladies and gentlemen.
Great, thank you very much. You also had one on 8. Did you want to speak on 8 as well?
I'd like to... I'd like to finish number 2, if I may, please.
I think that was your time, but you can take...
Okay, number 8,
if you want to jump to number 8.
Thank you very much. We have a terrorism problem again in Los Angeles, and thank you again, Mitchell Englander, I thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, 2 great law enforcement officers, officials, have either been fired or retired.
This is on number 8. This is for the 2 canines, ma'am.
Yeah, and I'd like to bring that as an example and bring it into the canine. We have, ladies and gentlemen, the greatest sophistication in gizmos and gadgetries. You have the greatest technology in Los Angeles to go after these felons and gangbangers and get law enforcement. You do not do that. You do not utilize what the taxpayers have forked out. And what we are asking is, use what we have paid for, taxpayers have paid for. Go after these criminal felons and make life easier. Restore public safety and restore the sanctuary and the wholesomeness of America and in Los Angeles. Let it be the benchmark throughout the country. We have here, again, is we are having law enforcement not respond to the crimes at hand.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Okay, so those items will be on consent without objection, and we'll go ahead with those items that have CAO reports and adopt those reports as well.
Thank you.
Great. Excellent. Thank you very much. Okay, with that, we'll go ahead and take item number 3.
Item 3, motion Fuentes Martinez Englander relative to requesting the city attorney with the participation of the LAPD to report on the status of the recent U.S. Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals ruling in the case of Patel versus the City of Los Angeles.
I believe we've got a note here to continue that item as well. We'd like, I know there's going to be a presentation on that with various options and the results of the ruling, so we'll go ahead and continue that. Do we have a time period of continuation? No. Okay, we'll re-agendize that at our next scheduling meeting and notify the folks of when we'll be rescheduling that as well, which takes us to, I believe, our final item, which is item 5.
Item 5, city attorney report and ordinance relative to amending the LAMC to prohibit the manufacture, sale, possession, or use of any imitation firearm unless it is colored bright orange or bright green, and to prohibit the open display of any imitation firearm unless exempted.
Morning.
Council member, good morning.
How are you, Chief?
Good morning.
Morning.
Well,
Good morning, Deputy City Attorney Brian Sotelli.
Kirk Albanese, Chief of Detectives.
Richard Tompkins, LAPD Gun Unit.
Ann Clark, Commanding Officer, Gang and Narcotics Division.
Great, thank you. We've seen the draft ordinance and certainly the various items on it. If you wanted to just briefly walk us through it, and it'd be great.
Sure. I could start off, Chief, if you'd like. What you have before you, council members, is a draft ordinance to amend the municipal code to add a section 5521, which essentially would prohibit the manufacture, sales, offer for sale, or giveaway of imitation firearms unless they're orange or green, bright orange or green. Yeah. It also contains various exemptions as it relates to that effect. It also has another provision which makes it unlawful to openly display or expose imitation firearms in public place as defined in the Penal Code 2170B. There's also certain exemptions that pertain to that provision as well. There's penalties associating with violating the subsection B of 5521 related to the sales and manufacture of the weapons or toys, guns, to be a misdemeanor if it doesn't comply with the section. And also if there's penalties associated if they violate subsection D for the unlawful open display. The first offense would be an infraction. The second offense would be subject to a misdemeanor cite.
Council members, the police department believes this is an important ordinance in terms of community public safety. It's more about community public safety, community education, than it is about the penalties associated with the ordinance. As the council is aware, we've seen a number of tragic incidents in the city and outside of our jurisdiction where people have been shot because police officers mistakenly identified the item in their hand as a real firearm, and we had a tragic consequence. We've had a number of those, most recent being in 2010 in Northeast where a 13-year-old was shot and paralyzed. This is an issue that's important to Chief Beck. It's important to the LAPD in terms of, again, public safety, community education. The ordinance provides for imitation firearms that can be bright orange or bright green. The Penal Code prohibits the manufacture of real weapons in those colors. We also believe that in terms of this ordinance, once it is passed by the council, we will go on at the police department a public campaign in terms of education, because really what that's about, to educate parents and young people in terms of what this ordinance is, and not prohibit their ability to exercise the fun associated with these imitation firearms in the right place. But in terms of being in public with other than what this ordinance would provide for, we want to avoid that. And we believe by avoiding that, we increase public safety and reduce the likelihood of a tragic consequence in terms of our police officers.
No, thank you very much. Appreciate that. Did you guys want to add anything as well? Or?
No, sir.
Okay.
No.
Excellent. Thank you. We have a number of speaker cards as well. We'll go ahead and jump to the public comment cards on these, if we could. Thank you. So we'll go ahead and, if we got questions, we'll certainly bring you back up as well. Thank you so much. I'm trying to read the first name. Airsoft Extreme. Ho is the last name? I apologize. It's not your name. It's the writing. So you should have been a doctor.
Yeah, I'm a wannabe doctor.
So my mother used to tell me she couldn't read my writing. She'd say,
Yeah, my
"You
name
should have been a doctor."
Yeah. That's what my parents wanted me to be. Anyway, my name is Andrew.
What is it?
I'm the owner of Airsoft Extreme. I have several stores throughout California, including one here in Torrance. I'm the first and oldest airsoft store in the country. And I'm an active supporter of LAPD. My company has been invited several times to Elysian Park to represent for various internal LAPD and charity events. Obviously, I know a lot of officers. Anecdotally, I'd have to say that, this coloration is not going to change how the police will respond to any incidences. What our industry is doing right now is working on a state level to create what we consider are going to be more reasonable safety and education initiatives. We believe that safety is very important, and education is primarily what we're trying to emphasize.
Excellent. Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Andrew. Jay Snyder? And why don't I just do this? Jay, followed by Rusty Glaze, if you want to come on up. Scott Lasker, as well as, is that Yvike Cheng? And Sergeant, if we can get one more. Oh, we have another chair that was tucked in. Never mind. Hello. Okay.
Thank you. Good morning, Mr. Chairman, honorable committee members. My name is Jay Snyder. I'm a citizen of Los Angeles. I am the owner of Airsoft Holdings. We're based in Irwindale. Safety is of paramount importance to everyone in our industry. Our industry is highly responsible and has an impeccable safety record. The industry in the United States began in Los Angeles County and is still centered in California, with the largest concentration of businesses still in Los Angeles. The largest retailers and distributors here, and virtually 100% of our goods transit through the port. The legislation as crafted would cripple our industry in California, costing thousands of jobs and millions of dollars in tax revenue. Having said that, we are not against legislation that will enhance public safety. We are local citizens. We care about public safety for us, our children, and the citizens. To that end, we're working with the state, with Senator DeLeon's office, on a revised bill that we believe will be much more effective in enhancing public safety. 30 seconds?
You know,
You don't have time.
You can give Jay my time. Is that
we
okay?
can't do that, unfortunately.
Okay.
Yield time. It's in the rules. But what we can do, though, is if you have anything in writing, you can submit it.
Okay.
And it'll be officially part of the record. Yeah, I apologize. Well, we opened it up earlier because it is a council day to typically what we do is to the minute. But in any event, if you could submit that as well.
Okay.
For the record, that'll be great. Excellent. Or if he wants to finish reading your letter, you can certainly do that.
No, go ahead.
Oh, yeah.
Although it's not officially his time. But since I'm here, it's my time too. I'm just kidding. Okay. So, no, please go ahead.
Okay.
From a movie. Never mind. All right. In all seriousness.
Rusty Glaze with Balkan Sports. We're based out of New Jersey. I work in a San Diego location, and I guess the main point that I'll say is that this group of guys here and a bunch of other guys are working on a state level to amend some of the safety issues, and our focus is education. And with this group of people, you have the largest reach within airsoft users currently. Most of these guys have sold to or have access with emails and databases that can reach the furthest. So when you're talking about doing a safety campaign, no one can do it faster than the group of people that are heavily involved in the industry of airsoft. And we can educate people on safety better because we know it, and we can reach people the quickest.
Excellent. Okay. Thank you. See?
Yeah, my name is.
Well, let's go ahead and speak. Go
My
ahead.
name is Scott Lasker. I'm an executive with Airsoft Megastar. I work with our CEO, Jay Snyder. Just to reiterate what Jay said, public safety is obviously paramount for us, but I also think that there's a major economic issue that we need to address as well. We have over 50 employees. A lot of the other companies have as many or not more. You also, I'm a citizen of the San Fernando Valley. My daughter goes to a school that is in Councilman Englander's district. You have to remember, we import airsoft guns and accessories through the Port of LA. We have a contract with UPS, so we have UPS bringing truckloads of our stuff to consumers on a daily basis. There's also the fact of local vendors that are giving us shipping supplies and other types of stuff that help the overall economy. So I think there's an economic effect as well besides public safety.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
Good morning, Council Chairman Englander. Good to see you again. And good morning, honorable committee members. My name is Evik. I represent Evik.com Inc., and I'm also a member of the Airsoft Safety Foundation. My company is located in Alhambra with about 110 employees. We're representing one of the largest airsoft retailers in the nation. I want to reiterate what Jay Snyder said that about the California legislation. I have spoke to Senator De Leon's office, the author of the bill, and multiple assembly members, and we pretty much have a consensus that this bill needs to be amended. And so I'm just asking if we can have time to visit the amendment that we have to propose. And all the incidents, tragic incidents that have been brought up in the past are both incidents. One is involving in a very dark night time where color would not have mattered. The other incident in Santa Rosa involves the colored gun, which is another reason why colored guns should not be used to promote safety.
And again, if you want to submit your comments as well.
Yeah.
That'd be great. Okay. Excellent.
Thank you so much.
And then we have another speaker, James Rupe.
Morning.
Morning.
My name is Jim Roop. I work for airsoft manufacturer, KWA. It's based out of Taiwan.
Speak closer to Mike.
Sorry. I work for airsoft manufacturer.
If we could start his time over. I didn't hear. Wasn't in the mic. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I work for airsoft manufacturer by the name of KWA. We're in State of Industry. We believe that safety is very important in all of our manuals, everything that we put out. We definitely support the safety and give the direction to our users as well. We're not trying to stop any means of controlling the safety here. All we're actually doing is asking to wait. Give us a couple months to work on these amendments, to better the safety and work on these things, and we're just asking for you guys to wait. There's, if you take a look at some of the things we have here, these are real firearms. These are sold this way throughout the United States. So changing the color on an airsoft rifle, pistol is not going to change what we see out here. They're not going our officers are not going to be able to differentiate what is real and what is not just by the color.
Thank you very much. And our final card, Bob Collins.
I apologize for the lateness. My name's Bob Collins. I'm with Action Sport Games. We're a global company. We're a manufacturer and distributor, and I'm here on behalf of the rest of the group to support this safety commitment that we have. I've also been involved in this product since the inception here in the Los Angeles area. We would like to, as we said, have the opportunity to work together on this. And based on our amendments, I've been going to Sacramento as well, along with a couple others. We know that we can come to a working organization together, do it safely, and I just ask the committee to give us that opportunity to work together as it relates to these amendments, and I'm sure that we can move forward in a safe way.
Excellent. Thank you very much. And with that, we'll go ahead and appreciate it. Thank you. Open it up to my colleagues. Questions, concerns, ideas, thoughts?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. If I can call up Chief Albanese, maybe Captain Clark. Thank you. Let me first start by saying we appreciate Chief Beck's concern on this. You know, he puts on the Joe Friday hat and talks about the facts. Just the facts, ma'am. 18 OISs, 18 officer-involved shootings related to these types of weapons, whether it's a BB gun, airsoft, and it's a concern, absolutely. I want to ask, and you may mention, Chief, on the public campaign that this will help the education, and why isn't that already happening today?
Well, I think it is happening.
Do we need this ordinance for the public campaign?
Council member, it is, and it's been an ongoing effort. We think it'll be made stronger, that effort, in terms of the city's action, in terms of this ordinance, because then we have something to stand behind. And so we recognize that even with this ordinance, it isn't a cure-all for the potential for this to happen. But we believe it's going to lessen the likelihood. It's going to give the officers a moment of pause to take into account the totality of circumstances and make a good judgment. It isn't 100%, it isn't absolute, but we think this is going to give us a leg up in terms of the issue. And in terms of the education, I'll just also say that once again, when we talk about this as a public safety issue, if we can talk about it in terms of the ordinance, in addition to what we believe is a public safety issue, it's going to give us a chance to reach more people and have people listen with a little bit more in focus.
I appreciate that, Chief. You mentioned moment of pause. This is, I've been going back to my days on the field and working. Seconds matter, and the judgments of officers are held under a microscope. You know, oftentimes after an officer-involved shooting, you know, the Monday morning quarterbacking begins. And seconds matter when at a point where, you know, for me it's challenging and a concern when you talk about policy and training. How is this going to impact this decision, this ordinance that we may potentially draft and approve? How is this going to impact policy, one, and training as we move forward, if we decide to move forward?
Well, we certainly, as we do with all laws, and typically it's every year when laws become effective. But in terms of this particular ordinance, we will get this out to all of our people. We'll work with Luann Pinnell, Dr. Pinnell, in terms of her responsibility to train all department personnel. Whether this would be an e-learning in combination with roll call, I see this being a multifaceted training effort, council member, and making sure all of our officers are clear on what the ordinance says, what their responsibilities are. It doesn't change our use of force policy, as you know. Conceivably, could we have somebody with an orange gun? This has been brought up when I was up in Sacramento on this issue that was brought up. We could. And the officer is going to take into account the totality of circumstances, the environment, the location, the age, what's happening in front of them, the nature of the radio call, etc. Officers get paid for their judgment to make good decisions in very rapid fashion. And so, again, this isn't anything that we believe is a cure-all, but this is going to give officers yet another tool. And if the public abides by this, we believe it provides for a greater level of public safety.
What's your response when you see crime alerts such as this, you know, this pink Glock here and 3-year-old South Carolina boy killed after mistaking pink gun for toy? I want to hear the department's take on that.
Well, you know, we recognize that that guns are made. If you go to any site on the internet or gun magazines, you'll see that you can buy guns of different colors, of bright colors. In part, our judgment on this was that 23-800 of the Penal Code in the state of California says you can't make a real gun bright orange or bright green. You can't. You can't manufacture it. If you do, you're violating the law, and then we'll come after you in that regard. And so this is a delicate topic in large part because kids, young people want the realistic...
Was it just the two colors you said?
Two colors,
Only
Council
the two
Member.
colors, okay.
Two colors. So the imitation firearm can be those colors. Real firearms cannot be those colors by law. And so what we know, though, is a lot of kids want the real McCoy. They want it to look like the real thing. They want it to look like a real Beretta. And that creates a huge public safety issue for the LAPD and other agencies up and down the state. And this will give us a little bit of an advantage in terms of our ability to make a sound judgment in a moment.
I'm not a fan of toy guns. I keep them away from my kids. And my sisters tease me at times. And, you know, they know when to play with guns and how to use guns. And I struggle with this. I struggle with this, especially when I hear from my brothers and sisters, police officers out in the field, that, you know, if they're approached in a situation where you have a violent individual pointing a handgun, they have to assess whether it's real or not. It's challenging. It's challenging. So what I'd like to hear, perhaps, what the status of the Senate Bill 199 is, and perhaps the city attorney can come up to address that. Where are we at on Senator De Leon's bill? I know the City Council approved the resolution not too long ago. Can you give me an idea of where it's at?
Councilmember, if I could, before we get too far away from your last comment, let me just touch on that real quick. I've been in this business for 33 years, and we haven't encountered a real bad guy coming out of a liquor store with an orange or a bright green gun.
Yet.
Since 2009, the LAPD in gun buyback has taken into custody 12,000 firearms. We haven't taken into custody a bright orange or a bright green firearm. So I've heard that argument. I heard up in Sacramento. And there are no absolutes. I've said that several times.
Right.
The bottom line is we're in the business of protecting the community, and we have a dangerous job, no question about it.
Right.
But at the end of the day, we have a responsibility to that 13-year-old. And if we can have that extra moment, we want it.
No, valid point. I appreciate that. Again, it's either do we wait?
If we could go to the status of the Senate bill.
Yeah, council members, last time I checked on the legislative website, it is still in committee. That's Senate Bill 199, and I'm sure most of you are aware of that. That would prohibit the sale and manufacture of these types of imitation firearms unless they're brightly colored. They have a more expansive list of the colors.
Mm-hmm.
The draft ordinance would limit to orange and green. From what I understand, it's still in committee, has not moved forward, but I could check. And it will not cover, what's a little different with the state law is that if it's colored, those colors, you can have it in public. You can't use it, but you can have it in public.
But they're still working on amendments, correct? Okay.
I mean, our draft ordinance goes a little further and says even if it's orange or green, you can't have it in public, period.
Right. So knowing that they're still, what they call it, gut and amend these bills right now, specifically SB 199, and with potential amendments added, I'd like to see, I'd like to either hold this or note and file this until we see what happens in Sacramento on SB 199.
Does our resolution ask, let me just go back to this. If I can look at the resolution, do you have a copy of that?
Yeah.
Does it specifically state that we support the bill, or do we support it with amendments?
You know, Councilor.
It says here, would also require to be painted in bright colors to make them easier to see. Okay, it just covers. So one of the things here is
They're looking for comprehensive legislation on this, and that's
well, what we could do, quite frankly, as well, is we can ask that the resolution be updated, if need be, and we can talk to the maker of this particular motion and see if there's an interest. Certainly, I know from hearing the testimony of the police department, and that we can strengthen our position as a city as well. I'm just speaking on the resolution itself right now. That we can ask for those particular amendments that the department is looking at as well. And so we can have, that we reaffirm our resolution in support of this bill and ask for further amendments and ask for the police department's input on those amendments, as well as the industry that testified here. We could certainly even take it further, quite frankly, and some of those amendments that you said weren't considered in terms of carrying it publicly and things like that. We could strengthen it even more.
We have boots on the ground in Sacramento, right? They can monitor this as well.
We do.
The mayor's
We do.
staff?
We do. So we can, we'll talk to the maker of the motion. I think that's a good idea.
Thank you. Thank you. I think that I'm thinking along the same lines that you are, Mr. Chair, in terms of possible next steps. But I would like to ask you, Chief, in relation to SB 199, what are your initial thoughts as it is currently drafted? Concerns, criticisms?
Oh, good question.
Council member, I'd answer that this way. I've been up to Sacramento and testified in this issue a number of times. I don't think Senate Bill 199 is as strong as our proposed ordinance in the city of Los Angeles. I would offer that we have an opportunity to be a leader in this regard. These issues have failed up in Sacramento repeatedly. We have no guarantee that this will be successful. And if it is, it'll fall short of where our ordinance is right now. And so I think just in terms of Chief Beck and the LAPD, we've seen too much of what can happen in this regard in terms of the potential tragedy. And we want to take a leadership role in putting a stop to it as quickly as possible. And again, these issues in Sacramento get wide opposition, which is why our effort originally was a statewide effort with Senator DeLeon. And that was boiled down to Los Angeles County for the very reasons that this is just is a difficult issue. There's a lot of opposition to it. And so we believe the ordinance is the best way to go. We don't believe 199 is as strong, and even if passed, it won't give us what we want. We think we should be a leader in this regard.
Okay, so I appreciate and respect your concerns and respect your perspective very deeply, and that of my colleague, Joe Buscaino, who's been in the trenches in his profession. I just want to put out there the sense of urgency that I think we need to have for pushing 199 and making sure that it satisfies to at least a degree or a level that gives us the protections and satisfies the concern that Chief Beck has. And then, so really push that at the state level, and then consider this after the passage of 199, should that happen, but not just let this go. I think we need a resolution. Clearly there's an issue, and but it sounds to me like there's a mashup here with what the state's doing and then what we're trying to do at the local level. So that's a long way of saying that I am kind of agreeing with what you're saying, Mr. Chair. And let's see if the state will act as urgently as we feel they need to. And if they don't, then it is incumbent upon us to act, quickly, I think. So I'm willing to support what your, Joe, your position on this.
We can look at the
So let me ask you this, colleagues. The dialogue, and I want to try to capture this in the essence of what the department, the industry, the media, what's happened in other states, what's happening here in California, the discussion that and the concerns that my colleagues have brought up, that with the state bill, from what I'm hearing, there seems to be a consensus of support. Well, there's a resolution that's been voted on by the city council and signed by the mayor to support the state bill. However, the department doesn't feel the state bill goes far enough. So, would it be the desire of this committee to suggest in the report back that we move this to council as a receive and file, but with a recommendation? And I'm just trying to capture the dialogue. I'm not making a recommendation. With a suggestion that we amend the reso to update reaffirm our position, but support the bill with amendments, and the amendments that are reflected by what the department has strongly urged and suggested, and what the police chief would want as well, for those amendments to go to Sacramento? Is that, am I capturing?
I think it's important for the record
conversation?
that we have a caveat. And yes.
Okay. Is there a second? I'll move that. Okay, so then that'll be the order without objection. So we'll go ahead and do that. We'll move it to council as a receive and file. We'll go ahead and update on the report that we do want, though, the resolution reaffirmed, sent back to Rules Committee with an update on the resolution to include certain recommendations by the department, that they update and I believe the recommendation was no open carry. Is that correct?
Correct, council member, correct.
Okay, and if you want to get those notes to the clerk as well, so we can capture those, specifically the department's requests on what the bill needs to be amended, so we'll support with amendments on the updated resolution. Is that okay?
Got it.
Okay, then that'll be the order of this committee without objection. I want to thank you guys as well. And let me add to that, not part of the motion, but as two police officers as well, reserve officers, Joe and I are actually slated to go to Sacramento soon on another item to try to fix our streets and sidewalks. But we'll be meeting with the maker of that motion. In fact, he's on our list to meet with. We'd be happy to bring our hand carry that resolution to the update with a letter from the police department and urge them to make the changes as well as to pass the bill. And any other members of that committee, if you can let us know, we would be happy to advocate on behalf of the department and the chief and support you guys on that too.
Thank you, council members. Thank you very much.
Okay. Terrific. Excellent. Okay. We have 2 speaker cards. I believe that concludes the agenda. And Nipons? Good morning. Thank you for your patience. And once again, Antonio Ramirez. Antonio? General public comment. Good morning.
How do you? This past Tuesday, the governor of the state of Colorado signed in a new... Can you speak closer to the mic?
Can you grab the microphone, please?
There you go.
Just pull it towards you.
Yes.
There you go.
That'll work?
Perfect.
All good?
Okay.
Okay. This past Tuesday, the governor of Colorado signed into state law a new law that allows for a public broadcast alert system for hit-and-run drivers. When there are certain criteria that are met, the public is notified of the description of perpetrators or their vehicles.
Yes.
And this has been a very effective way of locating these criminals. I would very much like it if the City of LA would consider such an alert system. I also wanted to mention that the City of Denver, in the past 2 years, since they implemented in the city this Medina Alert, as it's called, they've had 17 crimes that meet the criteria for issuance. Out of these 17, 13 have actually resulted in the arrest and conviction of the perpetrators.
Yes. No. In fact, I was looking at that. We're not supposed to comment on public comment or dialogue, but just to let you know that, in fact, we were looking at that. And we're working on a motion right now to look at putting that in here. It's brilliant. No, thank you for
leading that effort. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much.
Good morning.
Good morning. We only get a minute. Jesus Christ. I just want to let you know that 2 things that get me really upset about law enforcement, and they always seem to come up and they'll say, when you are involved in a criminal environment, they'll say, do you have any proof? And with all the high-tech crap that they have, they will ask you, do you have any proof? And so they'll deny you the right to get, police reports or investigations or assessing property damages or vandalisms or graffiti or etc. And the second thing is, you're left to go after these gangbangers and wetbacks and criminal illegal aliens, as well as the Iranian criminal rings in the Westwood Wilshire corridor. And again, we are left to take on the onslaught of crimes that come in every single day, like home invasion robbery, criminal theft, breaking and entering, cyber attacks, welfare fraud, drugs, weapons, breaking and entering through our balconies. Again, let's do something to curtail these crimes, council members. Let's take on the helm and fight these crimes. Please, don't leave it to us. Please, we don't have the high-tech.
Thank you very much. And that'll conclude public comment. That'll conclude the agenda, and we are adjourned. Have a great weekend. Be safe out there.